I'm looking after a sick person, and there's 20 people in the house for me to feed. And the caregiver burden is horrific. You thought, because it's our traditional way of doing things, I also did it until I stopped. You think going there and taking them rice for them to cook is serving. It's serving in some way, but it's not serving the caregiver who has caregiver exhaustion.
Apondi, sometimes we get parents with children who will have to undergo some major surgeries, and their social structure is not as strong. Because in this case, the surgery that your child was to undergo, it's actually a major surgery. And you actually said the child stayed in hospital for quite a while. We have single parents currently a lot. And some of them, the socioeconomic status is usually a bit too low. And that child might not be the first child that they have. Perhaps they have two others who have to stay with their relatives out there. We are medics, we are not the expertise in social issues. How much do you think having your mother being a medic and your sisters being there helped you to actually have a pleasant time before, during, and after this surgery? And if from that experience, what will you advise those other parents who are single parents and perhaps we're in Nairobi, some of them don't even have connections with their extended families? How would you suggest that us as medics would help out those single parents who perhaps they don't even have money to feed the other children at home, yet they have to stay with us for 2 months or 3 months like that?
A piece that I didn't say, and I'd like to step back to, was that the nursing team at Kenyatta Hospital were absolutely amazing. They were available. I don't know if there's something called pediatric nurses, but they played with the children, they looked after the children, they took an amazing care of the children, and the children liked them. Yeah, the children were not scared of them. They're just lovely people. And they came to the birthday party. We took pictures with the nurses. Yeah. So I think it's important that I say that all the medical team were really good. That was 30 plus years ago. Now I don't know what Dr. Mwirishia's experience looks like today. He's very pleasant as I've seen him, and he for me would be the kind of doctor I would like to have my grandchildren go to today, because of how pleasant he is on this Zoom meeting. I don't know how he is in real life. He might be nasty.
Okay. So, Dr. Mwika, you can give your input.
Usually, most of us, because we are published, you can actually assess a response from the patients we have treated, usually from OnNet. So if you just put my name, but OnNet is used as Dr. Mwika. If you just search on that, I think most of the response from the patient you have treated, that one can come out.
Not every parent has the capacity to be in Nairobi. We had relatives in Nairobi that we could choose to live with, family members. My parents lived in Nairobi, lived in the same house that I had grown up in. And so my bedroom was still there, apart from so many other relatives who are like, oh, come and stay with us. But not everybody has that opportunity, and it must present a horrible nightmare. And I remember at one time, somebody had set up a foundation that provided facilities for parents who had children in hospital to come and live with them, so that parents are rallied, homes are rallied. Could you take a person to live with you for a period and take care of them as they are looking after their child who is in pediatric care in a hospital in Nairobi? And I think it was specifically Kenyatta Hospital. So they may need to, Kaleche, you may need to rally that kind of thing or explore it, find out who's doing that kind of thing, to ask people to take care of parents. I mean, you could come from Northeastern and you don't have anybody who lives in Nairobi and you have a child. Where are you going to sleep? Where are you taking your shower? Who's looking after you as you look after your loved one?
The reason I ask about social support is that most of the children we have with the congenital malformations, especially from the low socioeconomic status, is the husbands just disappear. You know, some of them are not married, but they are there as fathers. But the biggest problem we have, they say that in our family, we don't give birth to children with defects, and they disappear completely, especially those who are born without an inner opening. When we complete the surgeries, they come back. And it's not one or two cases, it's several cases. So, and this, some of the things, actually, when we call a counselor to talk to the mother, we actually warn the ladies early that this thing will actually increase a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress, not only to you, but to the people who are around you, including your husband. And the psychologists who come actually to these homes, they a bit actually request that some of the counseling sessions, the husband should be there, so that even the husband has to understand the surgery, and there will be stress. It's not a tick and everything is gone. And on the side, we also tell him how to support the mother as she's taking care of the child. Because if the father doesn't understand what you're dealing with, and you don't give him his role, most of the time in the society we are living in, you are more likely to end up with a single parent, and the other one will just disappear.
There's one crucial question which Dr. touched on about support system. So perhaps you can expound to us support, whether you had any support system at this time, and if so, what is it that they did for you, so that others who are watching can learn how the support system helped you?
Okay, I think that's a crucial question. I had a support system in my own family, and also friends. We lived in Kangemi, and to get to Kangemi, from Kangemi to Kenyatta Hospital, and then in the night from Kenyatta Hospital back to Kangemi, we didn't have a family car. And so there's a friend who became our friend at that particular time, somebody who just came and started praying with us. We hardly knew this person. And he then started driving us home every evening, dropping us home every evening. He would come to the hospital. His name is George Ambayo, and he continues to be our friend today. He just dropped in from some neighborhood church and decided to come and pray with us because we had a sick child. And that was that. He adopted us. And 30 years later, he's still our friend because he was dropping us every evening. Then there was my sister who would then also drop us in the morning. So he would drop us to the hospital in the morning, or come and bring food to the hospital. Then I had another sister who would come and stay with the child in the hospital. And I had a sister-in-law. Okay, so my sister Tuyo would come and stay with my daughter in the hospital. And then my sister-in-law Nelly would come and stay with her in the hospital. So I had a number of people who I could give duty to, and they would come and stay and look after my child in the hospital. And relatives who lived nearby who would, actually, even children in primary school. I remember Lynn and Beverly were in primary school. They're my husband's cousins, and they didn't live far. They were in Madaraka. They would, every day from school, come and check on the child and go and report to their parents how this child is doing every day. So just having family coming and checking on us, my aunties who would check on us and support us, my in-laws, it really, what I would speak to people is go and be with the person who has a person who they're looking after in hospital. Support them. During COVID, it may be that it's not possible to actually physically go there, but you may want to call them and be there with them. And you can call a family Zoom meeting so the family can still be together on Zoom with the person who is taking care of their loved one, and just spend time with them, encouraging them. And you can send them food via, if it's in Nairobi, via Uber. There's Uber Foods, and there's all kinds of other courier companies who are able to send these people food.
Okay.
Ready food, not things for them to eat.
Okay.
Kaleche, okay,
Yeah.
this might also be unpopular, but I'm going to say it nevertheless. When the person comes from hospital and is in their own house, the Kenyan thing to do is to go and visit them. And you carry usually potatoes or rice or ungangano,
Yes.
milk, bread, okay? I'm 60 years old, and I'm going to speak from the authority of my experience.
Yes, yes.
That thing doesn't work. I'm looking after a sick person, and there's 20 people in the house for me to feed. And the caregiver burden is horrific. You thought, because it's our traditional way of doing things, I also did it until I stopped. You think going there and taking them rice for them to cook is serving. It's serving in some way, but it's not serving the caregiver who has caregiver exhaustion. And there's a time to take care of the caregiver, because the caregiver, like the prophet, they need their hands held up. I have learned somewhere along the way that verify how many people are going there, and don't necessarily go, or go on one day. Everybody, call every member of your family and say, on such and such a day, we are going to visit Kinanani. And when you arrive there with your rice and your potatoes and whatever, hizo ni bakshishi. Arrive with cooked food to feed yourselves, to feed that family, and to leave enough for them that is frozen for them to be eating during the week. That way you are also taking care of the caregiver. The caregiver gets exhausted. And so they are smiling with you, but they are tired. And they're wanting to take in the love, but they may have been drained of love. So take for them cooked food and toiletries, soap, toilet paper, jik. Give them those things. So replenish for them, but don't allow them to cook for you and wash up after you. No. Take them the cooked food and wash up after yourself. Leave that house clean with every glass dried up and in place before you leave the place. That is what I have learned as an adult woman. I have learned that you have to do the work for the caregiver also.
Apondi, I've heard you loud and clearly. Sometimes, our tradition, our culture, you don't want to annoy, but that is very true. So you've made a very good point. Support system is very important. In the hospital, it helps your journey, the way your sisters were having like shifts taking care of you, so that you could also have time to rest, replenish, and come back to your child when you're energetic. The man who came to be your family friend, giving you lifts, we should choose where to support and where to also support by letting go and, taking a back seat, yeah? So I've heard you loud and clearly.